few curious eyes studied the dusty stranger entering the saloon, but the hat and the frayed coat didn't give away any features. Carter had seen another wanted poster already. Over the past weeks, his bounty had increased. Washington did not care about some unfortunate civilian making his living by shooting folks, but drop a bluebelly and they suddenly demanded a head. "What will you have?" the bartender asked when Carter had sat down at the counter. "Whiskey," he uttered with a dry throat. The outlaw listened intently to his surroundings whilst he waited. "Did you hear? They found 2 more dead Yanks not far from here a few days ago." "Why should I care? Bluebellies can go to hell. Indians can go to hell. Everyone can go to hell according to ya. I think it's a good thing. Someone showing Washington we're not broken yet." "You always were a patriot, Joe." Carter grinned and emptied the glass in front of him. Would they still think him to be a hero when they knew who he was? Not that he cared. Those Yankees did have it coming. Sadly, they hadn't had much useful information either. It made him doubt if he would ever find Dabney. "So, you seen many Yanks lately?" he asked the bartender casually. "They always come around at least once a day, patrolling, looking, drinking." "Haven't seen a blonde colonel by any chance?" Carter continued. The bartender thought for a moment while polishing his glass. "Best I can do is cap. Should think most high-ranking officers to be fighting Indians." "All right, I'll be off then." Carter got up, paid, and went to the bedroom doors. Just when he wanted to exit, 2 Yankees came inside. One bumped purposely into the outlaw. "Hey, watch it, old man." When Carter refused to apologize, the soldier turned around to him. "Nothing to say?" Carter kept walking in a stubborn manner. He didn't want to risk exposure, not with so many people around, even if he felt the fires of hatred flame up again. His fingers twitched in anticipation of another potential kill. He wasn't prepared for the hand on his shoulder forcing him around, nor for the fist that sent him to the ground. He lost his head, but the by now long brown hair and beard concealed him enough for any first glances. He refrained from talking back or delivering a punch himself. "What, that's all?" The soldier sneered when the man on the ground didn't stir. Obviously bored, he went towards the counter. By the time the Yankee looked back, Carter was already out the door. Outside, he kept close to the shadows as he waited for nightfall. The 2 soldiers exited an hour later, went another round through town, and then into the sheriff's office. The chill of the evening, combined with the bluebelly's voices, caused the dozing man to wake completely. They were about to settle up when Carter exited the alley around the back. Runner stood where he had left him, under a tree, away from the many eyes. He let the Yankees ride ahead so he could follow them in the shadow of the night, unseen and unnoticed. He couldn't help but grin in anticipation of what would come next. The old familiar hatred cooked to the surface once again, demanding him to make those men suffer, just like they had suffered. Carter's thoughts went on reflecting as he kept following the soldiers. He should be ashamed of his deeds, should consider them wrong at least. But he didn't. There was neither guilt nor horror in his heart, only the powerful feeling of getting vengeance, of deciding over death and life, the satisfaction of receiving justice. By the time Carter took his rifle, they were already far enough from town so that the houses were mere silhouettes against the now grey sky of dusk. With a short glance towards the clouds, he concluded that it would rain later. Runner remained in his slow, smooth walk when Carter used both hands to take aim. A shot echoed through the night. Before it faded, one of the soldiers fell from his horse without a word. The other, alarmed by the attack, put his hand on his holster but didn't draw his pistol. The horse, spooked by the sudden noise, stopped walking and instead turned around to find the hunter and run to safety. The still living Yankee tried to calm his horse while pinpointing Carter's position himself. Little did he know that the former captain had already dismounted and sneaked towards his victim. The other man didn't see him until Carter tracked him from the spooked horse. The animal, finally fed up, kicked out and dashed away. Using his rifle's butt, the outlaw rendered the Yankee unconscious. By the time the soldier woke up again, Carter had already tied him to a tree. "All right, Bluebelly, I have some questions for you." The Yankee only glared at him. Carter had been careful to shoot the one which hadn't struck him in the saloon. He wanted to take his time when he got back at the man for that. "I'm looking for an officer, a colonel, Jonathan Dabney." Silence fell when neither of them spoke. The Yankee seemed to master Carter before he finally spoke. "We'll have to update the picture on your poster, Carter." The outlaw waited a moment longer, but no information came. The other man was approximately the same age, a steely look in his eyes that confirmed the experience of survival, yet it hadn't made him kind. There was a subtle cruelness in his expression, or perhaps it just looked like cruelness to the scarred wanderer. Not hesitating, he struck his prisoner across the face. "Have you served with Dabney?" Carter asked in a louder voice. The anger which had dissipated with the last kill was returning. "Ain't telling ya shit," the soldier said with a jeer in his mimic dialect. Carter reacted by shooting the man's leg. Cocking the pistol again, he raised the barrel to aim at the man's arm. "You sure about that?" Carter started grinning like a mad dog. The night's still young. The soldier groaned and gritted his teeth, but held the firm gaze. Carter almost started to respect the other man. "How should I know every damn colonel? Your damn rebellion was a mess!" He shouted, whereupon another shot followed. This time it was the left arm of the blue jacket which was starting to get soaked in red. The soldier panted for a moment as he tried to block out the pain. The next time he spoke was more like a boasting confession. "But I did find some fine presents down south." He threw the words into Carter's face with a smile. His whole bearing seemed to say, "Yes, I did it, and I had fun." He hadn't fought for the South. The remark shouldn't have bothered him, and yet, suddenly, it did. The outlaw reacted by stepping closer, taking the man by the collar. "I light you up like a Roman candle," he hissed. The mad, even malicious glee in his voice let even him fall silent for a moment, but only on the inside. His prisoner was too occupied with his wounds to notice. It lasted only a second. Before he knew it himself, Carter had turned around and was gathering small twigs and a few larger lumps of wood, and a lot of dry grass from around. When he placed the wood beneath the man in blue, the good leg kicked him hard enough to make him see stars. Once again, his sadistic nature took over, shooting the Yankee's other leg as well. A bit of black powder and his knife did the rest to get a flame kindling. For the first time, Carter saw something like genuine fear in his prisoner's eyes. The soldier would certainly have stomped out the small flames, but his wounds prevented him from such actions. Taking a few steps back, the outlaw sat down. He said nothing. He just watched. In the distance, thunder rolled up in the sky. "No use," he mumbled when he saw the hopeful glance of the man who now stood in a steadily growing flame. "You will burn before the first drops fall." And to think, he winced when his clothes started to smoke. "You once were my brother in arms. Hadn't you burned my house, I still would be." Slowly the flames licked higher, and whimpers and groans grew into screams and pleads for mercy. Not to Carter. They both knew he didn't give mercy. He pleaded to the Lord above. Thunder sounded again, closer this time, and Carter thought to feel the first drops carried by a strong breeze. The unknown Yankee's last words were directed towards his family. "Lord Almighty, I beg you." More muffled screams followed before he managed to compose himself. It was almost over. He would soon lose consciousness. "Protect my wife." My aunt. His voice was almost inaudible towards the end, drowned out by the crackling wood and the raging flames. All of a sudden, Carter stared at the blackening figure in the fire. For a moment he thought to see his own wife in flames, suffering, dying. He couldn't look away. Time was standing still as he sat there, petrified. When the rope that had bound the man to the tree gave in, the burning body fell forward. Carter started, moving backwards. Small flames still sizzled away the skin here and there. Hair and eyes were gone. Carter could see the man's teeth in grotesque detail. He felt tears run down his face as the sight brought back memories. Perhaps it was the realization that nothing could bring them back. No amount of death, not even the one of Sherman himself, would bring them back. He had killed a father to avenge his own child. He got to his knees. Runner, who was a little safe distance away, came closer when he sensed his master's distress. The stallion bowed his head and snorted gently into Carter's face. Managing to tear his gaze away from the corpse, the man only clung to the stallion's neck and kept weeping. More drops hit him, carried by the breeze. More thunder sounded, and a weak bolt of lightning illuminated the sky for a second. Feeling his wet clothes sticking to his skin, Carter decided to get up. He was exhausted. His legs trembled uncontrollably. Again, he had achieved nothing. He looked back at the halfway scorched corpse, the flames now extinguished by the rain. He had to get away from here, from the world, from being alive. Saddling up, he urged his horse into a gallop. Corpse on the ground. It's the ones you did shoot. Hear the vulture's sound and the owl's hoot. Runner, almost screaming, startled Carter awake. Another sound let him snap into flight or fight at once. A cougar had tracked his horse whilst he had fallen asleep on its back. New wounds showed on his friend, who did his best to escape, but the mountain lion jumped from side to side, keen on somehow weakening his prey. Taking the lead, Carter steered his friend away from the slope, but the early dawn made it difficult to see. Again the cougar jumped. Runner slipped, and Carter, losing balance and being hit by the attack, fell to the ground. A crunching sound in his shoulder let him gasp for air. The mountain lion was already over him, and Runner made for life. Luckily, he still had his coat and knife. Raking its claws across his face, the cougar aimed to bite Carter's throat. The man reacted by shooting 2 rounds. One missed, one hit the paw, causing the animal to roar in pain. The cougar drew back. Carter kept shooting while dragging himself away with the painfully injured shoulder. His vision tainted by his own blood, and the burning pain let him miss the cougar's head. Ignoring the grazes, the large cat kept coming again. When the empty Colt kept clicking without result, Carter pushed it back into his holster. Damn it! He cursed, trying to reach his knife. He wasn't going to die here, like this. He would get his revenge, somehow. The cougar jumped. Carter still groped for his knife. A punch deflected another attack aimed at his throat, but instead the animal bit deep into his arm. Now it was Carter's turn to roar. If it was pain or rage, he couldn't tell. The good paw dug its claws deep into his abdomen. Feeling the handle, Carter drew the knife just when the cougar was about to rip open his stomach. With one mighty thrust, he buried the knife between the skull and the side of the neck. The mountain lion kept struggling. Carter pulled out the knife and stabbed it again until it collapsed, falling to its side. Locking eyes with the cougar, Carter held his breath. It looked at him with cold eyes, disbelieving eyes, in fear, gradually losing their shine. Carter felt his own wet blood all over him. He didn't get up. He whistled for Runner, but his strength soon ran out. His world turned dark. Somewhere far away, he heard his wife call out, "Steve?" "When you coming home, Pa?" Then he heard the flames again, and them screaming. He heard guns and cannons and men dying, and he saw that ghastly owl soaring through a black sky above a vast wasteland where blood ran in rivers, where piles of corpses had been gathered. They all reached towards that owl, which seemed to leer and laugh and howl. Run on, but your horse already does tire. Your life has already gone since the day you saw the fire. Its eyes, glowing like hellfire, stared at Carter, even if he had neither body nor form, but he knew it was talking to him. Suddenly the corpses saw him too, reaching for him, moaning and crying and demanding justice. He knew they wanted to tear him apart like he had done it with them. He wondered if he was dead. He somehow knew this was hell, his personal hell. This was waiting for him when he was done living. He wouldn't be allowed to see his family. He would receive punishment, doomed to repent for eternity. He felt his blood run cold at the sight. His stomach lurched at the corpses crawling towards him with undying hatred in their eyes. Carter closed his eyes. He didn't want to see torture coming. He would know once he felt it. Felt their dead, clawed hands digging into his skin, tearing him limb from limb, pulling out his guts. He couldn't deny them that small victory now, could he? He was, after all, a sinner. He never had been a good man. He was good at being a bad man. He just had never noticed it before.
Live to die another day.